Netflix on the screen, healthcare in between, physics, art, math, got us down this path. Historical tales come alive, where science and stories dive, blended facts with heart, knowledge from the start. Need bridge blues we sing to the future memory. Health and science in the mix, Maybrick's got the fix. Complex subjects made
right
clear,
now
every episode
in ways that we actually acquire
leads the way,
and ways that make me more efficient.
in the world of digital streams, turning knowledge into dreams. Through the tales of old, new stories unfold.
Thank you so much for joining with me. It is truly an honor and a privilege.
MedBits Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges on our live programming.
Hey, welcome to the MedBits Webcast. This is Ramana Namraju. I'm the host. So, I am, it's a little bit of an unusual place this is right now. I'm broadcasting from in the second office of mine. Today's news are, if you see CNN and all other news channels, there is a lot of protest going on in the United States, and the congressmen in the town hall meetings. What that means is, so the upcoming guest can explain that a little bit. Social contract, breakdown of social contract. What is a breakdown of social contract? During the pandemic, we had witnessed the COVID-19 vaccine time. United States, some of the people they don't want to do the vaccines, and they are against vaccines, or they're for vaccines. Some of them are pro and against it. So this social contract is between the individuals and the government. That's a philosophical concept. So it failed. The pandemic exposed the total failure of the social contract. So it is, we right now, there is a kind of things going on in the United States right now on the town hall meetings. That's going on. They're burning some of the Tesla cars and Tesla dealerships. So this kind of social contract is breaking down. There's individual understanding rights and responsibilities of the people. They have some rights and responsibilities. Same thing with the government. They have some rights and responsibilities. When it breaks down, when there is no common ground, it is a serious problem. It is a seriously, we need to reevaluate what kind of systems that we need to adopt. Noam Chomsky, a philosopher, very well-known philosopher in the United States, he said that individual freedom is of paramount importance. That's absolutely true. With some responsibilities, but individual freedom is a human right. That's what that. So we can disagree on a lot of things, but we have to do some things. We have to give up for the entire freedom to wellness of the society. We have to give up some of the freedoms. So that is the social contract. So my guest, Maria Dolores. She's a Sweden. She's joining from Stockholm, Sweden. Think about that, Europe all the way. She's joining from the Stockholm, Sweden. and then she's going to explain this. She did a lot of research on the social contracts and human contract foundation. She started a company called, a organization called Human Contract Foundation. Human Contract Foundation is basically saying that rights and responsibilities of the individuals and the probably societies also. I'm not sure. Human contract is human responsibilities. So the whole welfare of the system has to be centered around the humans. Even the AI, that is a problem. Let us talk about a little bit with my guest, and she will explain her journey a little bit. Let me bring her to the table. Maria Dolores from Stockholm, Sweden. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here with you.
So
Thank you.
explain a little bit background of yours, how you ended up in this, where were you born, and how did you end up all the way to the Human Contract Foundation?
Yeah. Yes, my background is 25 years with human resources and leadership. I've also trained in security and crisis management. I've also worked with funerals. So during the pandemic, as you were referring to earlier, I was actually working here in Sweden and helping my friend in her funeral business. So I've casketed 3,000 people and I've attended more than 1,300 funerals. I've seen all the major religion, Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, Sikh, and Muslim, and non-secular ceremonies. And so when I talk about that we all have equal human worth, that's my reference point. And also, I've been very interested in our human history, our 300,000 year human history, and where we are right now, and the shift that we're going through right now. And I perceive all the symptoms of all the challenges that we see today with our personal health, our physical, mental health, in our relationship, but also globally, is symptoms of the challenges and the shift that we're going through. So that's why I created the Human Contract. It's also based on my first book that I actually published 10 years ago. It's here you can see A State of Grace, Human Rights and Human Obligations. So this is the first sprout that I had. And then I received the Ambassador for World Peace award here in Stockholm. So I'm officially Ambassador for World Peace awardee 2023.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let me ask you about this. During the COVID-19,
Yeah.
there is a lot of breakdown in I don't know, in Sweden, what is the situation there? How did they handle the some people who are pro-vaccine and then people who are against vaccine? How
Yeah.
did Sweden handle it? And that we want to know a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know if you remember, but most of the countries had a hard lockdown, and Sweden took a different approach, which was for a moment there, we here in my nation, we sort of felt like, hey, Sweden, what are you doing? Because we didn't really have like government telling us, but it was more like guidelines, and people obliged for the guidelines, but it was not like harsh lockdown, but people stayed home, people took care, and like most countries, we had the toilet paper thing where and so pandemic had it was really challenging here as well, and isolation and
Yeah, that also exposes a lot of, as you mentioned, mental health is a big problem during the pandemic. That is a part of the human rights, and mental health is being. Let me ask you the question on the Sweden. Is a kind of a liberal more than the. Actually, I did not understand the hard lockdown. Because as a mathematician, as a physicist, as a public healthcare consultant, I was born in a village in India. There's only one road from my hometown to the big city. Only one road. If you lock that road, they would not. You don't need to lock down within the village. So they locked down inside the village. That didn't make any sense. That was a little bit of a challenging to us. So I don't think they did a very thoughtful way. They hard lockdowns. They did not use science a lot. But that is I think Sweden went through everybody like everybody else. Why do you think there's a trust in the institutions is lacking in the United States? We have a big problem right now. Trust in the institutions, they're challenging right now. So what is that? United Nations and all those things are, we want to get away from the United Nations. We pulled out from the World Health Organization. So what do you think your views on those kind of things in the
I love to talk about trust because it's really an important fundament, and I think the Scandinavian countries have the Scandinavian countries in general have a long tradition of a higher sense of trust, and I
yeah
think it's about a lot of different perspectives. It's about how we perceive ourselves. It's how we perceive one another. That it's natural and it's normal for me as a woman to feel like I have equal worth to any person, any man or woman. I have the same equal worth, and the trust that we have is actually also financially effective. Did you know that? I talked just some years ago. I was talking to the NASDAQ head of NASDAQ in he was in Helsinki, so in Finland, and he told me that the most profitable NASDAQ exchange was Finland, and then second was in Denmark, I think, and the third place was Sweden. So it's the three most profitable NASDAQ exchange markets in the world. And I asked him why. And he said, it's because of the trust. We have smaller communities. Sweden is only 10 million. And so it's more like a sense of like everyone knows everyone, or at least if you and I are going to make a deal, then maybe I don't know you, but I probably know someone around you. So an agreement is more like you have something to offer, I want to buy it, and we just shake hand on it. We have that trust, and that fundamental trust makes the business flow easier. Now in this world that we are building right now, and from what I perceive is going from the nation-centric thinking to a global local world. In this change and going to the global local world, it's the trust is lesser.
what is
Uh,
the global local world? Explain that a little bit to us.
yeah, the global local world. Um, uh, it's actually in my upcoming book, and it's referring also to the human contract. Um, so human history with if we perceive our history, going back 300,000 years, and we had the technology of fire and stone, and then we lived in group of 150 people, and so for every change in our human history, we have always had technology supporting and driving us to the next level and the next level and the next level. So living in groups of 150, then becoming agricultural, growing to about 1,000 people in groups, a huge shift in our human history. And then for each shift, growing more and more and more in groups, but also with support and force almost of technology and our mindset, how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive one another. So right now, like in America and most of the Europe countries, we're standing on this the three fundaments of what we refer to as democracy. So it's the justice system. In Sweden, the justice system started in the 1600, I would say, with the Swedish king back then. And the technology supporting that was the book printing, right? So he could send out his decree. And then on top of that came the political system. And about the same time, what we refer to as the third state of power, in America, you call it the fourth state of power, which is media. And the media's role to audit the justice system, to audit the political system. And now, again, like so many times before in our human history, we have technology supporting and driving us to the next level. So what we need to do right now is both to embrace our human history, because we have exceptionally, we have representation from all the previous levels in our human history. We have representation. We have about 350 million people living indigenous way of life. 350 million. It's the same amount of people as America. So all over the world, indigenous representation. We also have empires, and you can look at it either as an organization form for how you organize a society, but we also have empires such as Facebook that is global and enrolling billions of people, right? I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
Facebook has billions, right? People subscribing. So empire structure, one leader, and then the organization. And we also have various forms of democracies and different ways of organizing our society.
You're explaining the glow local. What is the
Yeah.
glow local, right? Yeah, glow.
So that's the point where we are right now. And so what we need to do now, moving onwards to a better, a brighter, and more hopeful future, is with the help of embracing our human history, embracing our present, and not. I don't believe in a top-down organization. I mean, we already have United Nations. What we do need is the other type of movement that is a bottom-up movement. That you and I, we have rights and we have responsibilities. So the human constitution is just simply 7 principles based on United Nations Declaration of the Universal Human Rights, but in an interpersonal perspective. That you are born with your rights just because you're human. You're born with your the rights and responsibility for your physical, mental health. You're born with rights and responsibilities and to mature as a human with our responsibilities in your power, your communication, and your life. And then the 7th principle is about our collective rights and responsibilities. And that's how we go to a global, local world. And like I said, I don't believe in another type of top-down, policy, decree, lawmaking, but we need to unite.
Yeah.
And
So
something
bottom
that
up.
is not religious, it's not party political, but simply human.
Yeah. So I understand that you wanted to be bottom up from an individual to all the way to the top. But there is technology. As I was talking with the last night with one of Steve Jobs, the Apple founder, Steve Jobs' roommate,
Yeah.
and he toured with him. He traveled with him to India. He said
Mhm.
that Steve Jobs told him that during the travel, he saw that they're young kids, they're 20 years old or 21 years old. They were traveling across India. At the time, India was poverty stricken. There's a lot of poverty in India at the time. So they saw what Steve Jobs saw that, and he came back and he said to him, I think technology can help to change the humanity. That's what technology certainly changed it. You and me, we are talking because of technology. Technology progressed next level. But there is a now is a different problem now we're facing, as you said, that Facebook and other things is becoming a top-down approach now again, back with technology. So inequities are going up. So the technology founders found a platform that funnel the money to the top. So this is inequities. So technology has to be moderated. It has to be glow local, as I said, that is important. But it's not the top down, the bottom top approach of the money wise. There's a financial economic systems, financial system. All the systems should not be to the bottom to the up. Funneling the money to the top is a goal of technology now. That is a problem. So you need to have a human centric approach that is missing right now in the technology. So tell us, what do you think of this inequities in technology side of it?
Yeah, like I said, my background is with human resources and change management, and I've worked with successful change management, and I know that as soon as we say, this is the solution, this is the one and only solution, that's usually not true, and and so I do believe technology, like I said, through our human history, has always supported and driven us forward. However, it's not simply just the technology, but it's really our mindset, and it's our understanding, our mindset, how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive one another. And the human contract and the human constitution is to support and to drive a more mature humanity. What does that mean? A more mature humanity is simply a strive for a more peaceful mindset, more peaceful emotions, lessen the drama, and to increase trust with each other, and to increase a more peaceful, curious approach. And also in Swedish we call it civilkurage, which is moral courage, and how, the seventh principle is about our collective rights and responsibilities, which is moral courage, and how when we unite, we can make amazing things. I don't know, but you probably remember, Romana, because you and I were around in 1989 when the Berlin Wall fell, and and it fell because people from both sides just decided we had enough. We have enough of this wall and division, and even the guards, they didn't interfere. So I and that's just one example out of hundreds of examples through our human history, that when we unite, we can make amazing things. But we need the focus, because I do not believe in another bloody revolution. I do not believe. I believe in a peaceful, harmonious humanity, and I believe we can create that. I really firmly believe we can create that, but it needs guidance, and it needs a very, very clear northern star of what is the guiding star, and that is not religious, it's not party political, and simply a more mature humanity.
President Reagan said that break down these walls and during the Berlin Wall. But let us talk about the majority. He said that majority of the people decide what the common collective goal is.
Yeah.
Sometimes majorities ignore the minorities' rights. Sometimes the health equity, inequities of health is one of the outcomes in the United States. Health is a privilege, not a right. So how do you address the health and equity inequities in these kind of areas in the how do the Sweden does that and health wise it is a very health is a privilege in this country. So they said that you need to pay the insurance company, otherwise you don't get a you don't. So it is a became a enterprise system. Some of the human rights became an enterprise system for a lot of people. So how do you address that?
Yeah. And that's the beauty with the human contract. I'm just providing for a very thin but a very firm framework, just stating we are born with rights and we mature in our responsibilities. How we want to evolve, it needs to be a discussion. I do not have the solutions, and I do believe that there are so many different solutions, and it's depending on where you're living. If you're living like my friends in Uganda, there are challenges that they are facing, that is different challenges from what I am experiencing here in Sweden. And at heart, I'm semi-American actually, because my mother lived half her life in the States. She lived in California and she lived in Florida. She died. She lived the last 17 years in Florida, and my brother has been living in Florida since 1992, I think. So I feel semi-American at heart, and I really feel for America and the struggles that is going on right now. And I would love to inspire and to have broader, more global and national communication and dialogue regarding our rights and responsibilities. Do you want to go through all the 7 principles?
No, no. That's just. I wanted to ask you that. I wanted to jump into the other topic.
Yes,
I
yes.
was reading your profile. One of the things that caught me eye as a scientist, as a physicist, is human spectra theory. Human spectra is a very interesting to me. Human perception. In the legal system, they say what you see is not really. In the justice system, they say what people say, what they see is not really. You should not take that as a consideration as a real fact.
Yeah.
What is human spectra theory that you propagating? Just give us a little bit of background on that one. I was fascinated by that.
Oh, thank you. You really did your homework. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, the human spectra theory is based on the spiral dynamics. It's based on a world value survey, and to perceive it's a bit what I talked about earlier, that we have all this representation from all these different cultures and what I call organization forms, like the organization form of indigenous people, indigenous groups, and the organization form in the pyramid, the empires, and we also have kingdoms. Actual Sweden is another kind of kingdom, but the kingdom of the United Arab Kingdom, and like I said, various democracies. So this is actually the first time I'm talking about the human spectra theory. So I perceive these different kinds of organization forms, as we can look at them as a spectra, like from different colors. And then from these different colors, it's not judging to say that, oh, the
And just
say
sorry
hi.
about
It's
that. I don't know
okay.
why it is. I'm trying to. Sorry about
Happens all the time. This is the blessing and the curse, with the phones, and how
that.
we are truly a global world, and we can reach each other
Sorry about
24/7.
that. I did
No,
that to you.
it's all fine, Romana.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. So, yes. So the colors. So the different colors, and like I said, the theories behind this is substantial. It's a world value survey. It's the spiral dynamics, and it's lots of different theories that I saw, and I felt like, yeah, they're right, and it seemed to be a judgment about, like, if you live in an indigenous kind of surrounding and that type of organization form, that's not so fancy, and everyone should be democracies. That's the best one.
If I
And
understand you correctly,
and
human
I don't really agree. I think we should fully embrace that we just have these different spectra, the
yeah,
different colors. and,
beautiful.
and also what I do believe is that you can look at the colors, and then if you go lower, then you can have an organization form that is more dense, dark. So if you look at on the more dense, the more controlling, the more oppressive
Yeah.
is. And then also when you go up and you go lighter and lighter, the
Yeah.
less oppressive and the less and the more collaborative, the more open. So not opposing any organization form that you happen to be living in, but rather because I mean there are oppressive democracies, or what we can refer to as democracies, that is dense and it's controlling and harsh. And there are, with in the indigenous way, can be very enlightened, very collaborative, in harmony with the animal life, and a long-term thinking that we lack in most societies, and also oppressive. I mean, if you look at Haiti and the shaman demand of having girls as a payment, and to secure the families.
Dowry system, kind of a dowry
Yeah.
system.
So just it's not to oppose any kind of organization form, but rather to embrace the fact that we are living in a time right now when we have representation from all the types of organizations forms that we have had through our human history. And how do we move onwards is with a very, very thin framework stating you have rights. You're born with your human rights simply because you're human. And we have equal human worth. And then
Uh,
we mature with our responsibilities. A child only have rights. And when a child matures, the child matures in the emotions. The child matures in the thinking. A child matures in the communication.
if I understand you correctly, human rights are in the sense that by birth, by definition of being as a human, you have some rights automatically, and of
Yes.
course, responsibility. Rights are health, shelter, health, and protection from abuse. All those things are fundamental to the human. We need to, that framework has to be pass across the world, pass across the across the globe. That's what you're saying. Am I right? If I understand you correctly? Okay.
Yes, correct.
Now let us
Yeah.
talk about a little bit different one. So human spectra that's a very good concept, because your different colors. In India, for example, I grew up in India, very diverse culture. We have a snake charmer, we have a doctor, we have engineer. We are all in the same city, same town. We can live together with harmonious way. No other criticism of any one of their professions. So it is a it's a celebrating life, celebrating life of all of us. It's not
Yeah.
just one. And that is a bigger thing lacking. I am the right, you are the wrong. That's a bigger problem we have now.
Mm.
The next thing is I wanted to ask you about the relationship between the doctor and the patient, because I'm a healthcare channel. I need to ask you. So
Yeah.
doctor and a patient, what is the relationship in a human contract it talks about?
Well, actually, it's the same contract for everyone, no matter who you are, no matter religion, political, or your. It's but it's interesting because in the book I'm about to publish, it's the Human Constitution, 7 promises for a new era, and
Give me some
regard
rundown very quick. If you can run down those 7 principles, if you want to do that, yeah.
yeah. So and actually in the book I talk about all the hot topics such as abortion, the right, to die. It's about adultery. It's about all the juicy, the challenging things that we are experiencing as a humanity and as humans. I call this istima. And istima is, if we talk a more academic language, istima is to mature. And it's when we go from one perspective and we shift perspective, we broaden perspective. We don't go from here and automatically just broaden perspectives. We go from here and it's a process, going into doubt or questioning or fear or anger and frustration, and until we come to that breaking point, and then we come to realization. We suddenly we broaden perspective. In psychology, they talk about going through the stress cone. And spiritually, people are talking, going from one level of consciousness and you shift consciousness. And so the istima process is to embrace that as we are going through difficulties, we mature. So
I wonder,
it's a
yeah.
hopefulness, and to bring hope to that, no matter if you're in trauma or in stress or in distress, that either on individual levels in relationships, but also the planet and us as a species is also going through an istima. And so it's a new reorientation of who we think we are and who we actually are.
Yeah.
And
Uh, that
that
is
we
a human spectrum theory, right? That's what we are, and actually what we are and what we think we are is a two different worlds. But let me ask
no,
you another
it's
question
just
on the.
yeah, it's just adding more, because whenever we are stuck in one identity, yeah, I'm a white woman, I have this hair, if that's my identity, if I would go through an accident and I would burn off my hair and I would hurt myself so bad, then who am I then? Am I not a human? I am. Who am I more than all my identities?
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
So yeah, you mentioned the adultery a little bit. Let us talk about the institutional marriage. A lot of divorces going on in the world. Things
yeah,
are, we're moving to the industrial, to technological world, information world. People are interacting with the different people, different things. There is that there, for example, we have a big problem in the United States now is the romance scammers. People from other countries, they're taking advantage of the widowed woman with a divorced woman. They're taking advantage of it, and then say there's a lot from Nigeria. In fact, they are saying that they copy some pictures of these people and taking money from them. Really, it's an assault on the institution itself. We are really violating those human laws and the institutional marriages. Do we First of all, let me ask you, in the human contract, what is the place for the institution of marriage? Some people don't believe in it at all. We are violating, we don't, what I don't know is, I don't want to call it a violation. People don't believe in, that we are evolution is a different thing is coming up. We are maybe multiple partners will be there in the future for people. So what do you think of this, the social contract regarding the marriage?
Yeah, regarding the marriage, that's a good question. So the sixth principle is about life. You have the right to your life, and you have the right to live with whomever, wherever on the planet as you like, but not at the cost of any other. So to work against forced marriages, with young 14-year-old women, and to stand up for every person's right to live the way they want to, but not at the cost of any other. So to respect others' way of life. But and simply, people are saying love is love. And I mean that with compassion. I mean that with dignity. And I mean that with integrity. So people who choose to live with several partners, that's usually a different kind of istima. It's usually a challenge. It's more of a challenging life, a way of life. But if you can balance that with compassion and integrity and dignity, you know, good for all of you. But it's not a judgment on anyone's way of life, but um, to respect others' way of life.
But
And
social contract is a society's response. You have some responsibilities to society, right? So that you have to give up some freedoms to accommodate the society. That's a part of some protections from society, law enforcement, for example, and other things. That does society provides those kind of protections. So you have to give up some of the freedoms regarding that process. Um,
yeah, and that's also now you're talking about the fourth principle, which is about power. That you have the right to your personal power, and you have the right. Power is I see power in three different aspects: personal power, monetary power, and physical power. And you have the right to your power, and you also have a responsibility in your power. And this is usually where we have most istima, the most challenging, the most learning, because sometimes we take too much space and we take too much place at the cost of others, and sometimes we make ourselves so small, and oh, I'm not worthy, I cannot do this, and don't look at me. And the human contract and regarding power is to ask people to step up and to take their rightful space, their rightful place. What is that? It depends. I mean, you and we're having this conversation right now, and if I jump up on the stage, when I was a keynote speaker at the World Peace Conference, I had my rightful place and space, and I was acquired to talk for 20 minutes. But if you and I would be on a dinner, and I would be speaking uninterruptedly for 20 minutes, that's taking way too much space. So it depends. It depends on the preconditions and the circumstances, and as you referred to, also power in the society, and to respect others' um, power, and boundaries. It's ultimately about boundaries.
Maria, that I wanted to talk with in the final
Yes.
questions. That human contract is very good idea, principle. I have a philosophy that I do like this. You have to have a framework of the philosophy framework first.
Yes.
Then you have to create. Once you have framework of the philosophy, suppose, for example, I give you an example of that, is that see, nobody should suffer. Nobody should starving to death. Nobody should suffer with the pain without medications. These are the principles of philosophy. The next step is then you can create a methodology. How do you approach these methods without conflicting each other? Approach it with a methodology that you can create a specific methodology. Then after that, you create a third one is technology platform. Execute those two, the top two, without a conflicting. So the problem we have now is technology is dictating what the philosophy is. Technology is dictating what the principles of the methodology is. You should not be starting with the technology. You should, as you said, that human contract, that human rights and human equity and all those things start from the top, and then
Yeah.
you have to go to. So in that aspect, it comes from the individual bottom to the top. Individual sufferings and all those things have to be protected. The philosophy has to be clear cut. Then you have to create a methodology, any kind of a mathematical methodology, some kind of a procedures,
Yeah.
whatever the
But
framework.
and then life doesn't really evolve the way we predict it to evolve. But here we are. And I'm really, really happy to share this human contract with you and with all the audience, and to ask the audience also to share this with the world.
What is your website, Maria? So
It's the humancontract.world.
humancontract.world,
Yeah.
right?
I
Oh,
also,
that's
you
very
can
good.
connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook.
So we need ambassadors like you to represent all humans. We have it is a very confusing world we are living in right now. Very challenging times. Inequities are growing up, and there is a lot of unrest is there. And this is a techno. We need to define what the humans require. AI is taking over. AI challenging the human intelligence in this area. That we need to be human-centric approach has to be fundamental in my view. So thank you so much for joining with me from Stockholm, Sweden. It's an
Yeah.
honor and privilege to have you on my podcast. Thank you so much, Maria Dolores from
Thank you.
Stockholm, Sweden. You have any
I-
final words you want to say?
No, yeah. The final words that I want to say is that your ideas will change the world. So thank you for listening, and join us with the human contract. Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night. And good night. Stay on the line and I'll talk with you after the podcast. Thank you so much. Good night, all of you.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it.